needless to say, England was also steeped in squalor and filth, and actually had considerable contempt for bathing. And this plays very prominently later. I don't know if you've ever seen this book, but I think, by all means, you might call this the equalizer. Because when Europeans find out about their own history, their own love affair with dirt, written by their own, and African nationals didn't write this book. Terrence McLaughlin. Terrence McLaughlin is an Englishman. I think he's a journalist, and he did a history of dirt. And reveals some very interesting things. Maybe I'll read a few sections just to make my point. McLaughlin is describing the monasteries, and he points out that the monasteries were considered the cleanest places initially because the monks bathed, well, I should say changed their clothes once a year. That was considered good. Here was found a deep pit, 18 foot 8 inches long, the walls 15 inch thick. The depth of the pit below the cloister floor was 25 feet. Filled in the pit were old gowns torn up by the monks and used as toilet paper. Evidence too that the monks suffered from digestive troubles as a result of not having bathed but once a year. There was another section that I wanted to get, and let me see if I can find it, because that's mild by comparison. Page 7. See, these are the books that I never came across in history class. I was studying history, European history, and nobody talked about this. This is the beloved King James. And this is an account written by one of his contemporaries. So this is one of his English brethren. In describing him, he says, his beard was very thin, his tongue too large for his mouth, which made him drink very uncomely, as if drinking his tongue, which came out into the cup of each side of his mouth. His skin was soft as taffeta sarcenet, which felt so because he never washed his hands, only rubbed his finger ends slightly with the wet end of a napkin. His legs are very weak, having had, as some thought, some foul play in his youth, or rather before he was born, that he was not able to stand at 7 years of age. That weakness made him ever leaning on other men's shoulders. His walk was ever circular, his fingers ever in that walk, fiddling about his codpiece. Now, that's an interesting point itself. He tells us earlier that King James would also wear his clothes until they were falling off of his body. He wore his clothes unto rags.
Which King James?
King James the First.
Okay, as long as it's not the one that the Bible.
As long as it's not the one who wrote the Bible.
Why? He did the same thing.
Yeah, that's another lecture. We're told also that in the centers, in European centers, particularly in areas like Sicily, where there was a large Moorish presence in the 13th and 12th century, we're told that the Moors, who had reintroduced the concept of bathing to some of the Italians, but to some of the other European peoples, there was no reintroduction of bathing. There was no bathing. The Angles, the Saxons, the Picts didn't bathe. The Italians, the Romans bathed. They had bathhouses. When Rome fell, that was it. The Romans stopped bathing as well. So in the case of the Moors, they reintroduced this, but for some reason, the Anglo-Saxons and the Picts and the people who now we recognize as the Brits considered bathing as something that was self-indulgent. And people were actually killed. You could be killed if you were caught bathing. Now that plays a very prominent role again because we consider the relationship between hygiene, prevention of disease, etc. We see the relationship here.